Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Great episode, but before I get into my review, if you're new to this channel, hello and welcome. I summarize and review the latest Untitled Kapımı episodes, say what I like, what I didn't like, what I noticed, what I think might happen next. If you like these kinds of videos, like, comment, share, but most importantly subscribe so we can meet on a weekly basis. As always, let's talk a little bit about the side storylines before we dive into the Eda and Serkan storyline. So in my opinion, the side storylines kind of just filled in the time frame, but looking at them, nothing much really happened. So we have Celine and Ferit fighting over their dog, and Ferit wanting the dog because it was his idea, but Celine is like, no, I took care of him, I found him, something like that, and she wants to take him. And then Ceren witnesses that fight between them, takes Ferit to a dog shelter and kind of convinces him that he should just take a different dog. And Ferit is kind of liking Ceren more and more. Ceren is also showing signs that she's kind of falling for Ferit, so I do believe that they will end up together in the far future, not right now. I think that they will still stay friends for a very long time and deny their feelings towards each other, but then in the end they will fall for each other. Then we have Engin and Pogo. In this episode, Pogo was so jealous because Emre and Aslı, the clients of Efe/Serkan, have an assistant, and that assistant is interested in Engin, but because Engin only has eyes for Pogo, he doesn't really notice it, so he's very oblivious to the assistant flirting with him. But because Pogo is next to him, she sees everything and gets more and more jealous and more angry with Engin because of his reactions. Because at first the assistant is like, well, I quit my job or something like that, so she's jobless, and then gives the documents to Engin because he needed some documents, and then she's like, here's my number also because you can call me whenever you like. And then she kind of hints to him that she has no job, so if he needs an assistant or something, she's available, and Pogo doesn't like that. And then later in the episode, when they're at the party, she is again the assistant of Emre and Aslı, but is still hinting to Engin that they can meet up whenever he likes. And then his answer is like, sure, because he's so flustered by all this attention, because Ferit and Serkan are also there watching everything. Pogo is kind of having her eyes on him, wanting to see how he reacts to everything, and it gets her more and more jealous. So it was really hilarious to see him like that. And then in the end they kind of make a bet where Pogo is like, well, she's interested in you, blah blah blah, and he's like, no, that's not true. And Pogo is like, if you invite her to coffee and she comes, you will do whatever I'll say. And then Engin is like, well, if she doesn't come, then you will do whatever I say. So Pogo says invite her to coffee because Leyla told her that the assistant hates the smell of coffee and can't stand being near it. So if he invites her for coffee or to a coffee shop and she comes, it's a sign that she's interested in him, that she will overcome this disgust kind of. And then when Engin really asks that assistant out, she's like, yeah, sure, why not? Blah blah blah. And Engin is so shocked. You can really see his shocked face, and I had to laugh so much. And then when he told Pogo about that, and Serkan was also there, Serkan had the best reaction. It was hilarious. And then Pogo is kind of planning this whole date. So I'm really interested to see how this new love triangle, but not really love triangle because Engin is not really interested in that assistant, but still Pogo sees her as a competition. So I'm really interested to see how this relationship evolves in the next couple of episodes. Then we have the Iodine storyline. So Iodine is still trying to overcome her fear and move past the gates, but because Eda witnessed that conversation she had with, so Iodine had with Serkan, she gets really angry. So Iodine is fearing that Eda won't help her anymore, but then over the course of the episode, Eda still helps her, buys her some VR glasses, so they visit London and they go around. And then Eda is like, well, I've never been here, and Iodine is like, oh, don't worry, Serkan knows London like the back of his hand, he will take you there. Eda gets so angry because she wants to avoid this whole Serkan topic, and then Iodine is like, well, I'm sorry, I was lost in the moment, I'm sorry. And then she's like, let's get back to London. And it was so amazing to see that Eda still helped Iodine, even though Serkan is kind of against it. But in this episode he kind of accepted it. But I I have to say one of the best moments was between Ayfer and Iodine, when Ayfer was losing her mind because Iodine heard about a baby, saw the baby, called Ayfer, what's up with the baby Eda and Serkan. But the thing is, because Aydine's phone has no battery left, all Ayfer hears is baby and Eda, and then she loses it. She calls Eda, Eda hangs up, so she doesn't know what's happening. She goes to Iodine, and then this whole back and forth, them misunderstanding each other, because Ayfer thinks that Eda is pregnant, but Iodine was talking about the real baby laying there in Serkan's house. It was hilarious. I laughed so much during that scene. I do think that's all with the side storyline, so I do think we can move on to the Eda and Serkan storyline. So we continue right where we left off, Eda listening to Iodine and Serkan's conversation. Serkan walks away. Eda appears, confronts Iodine. Iodine is lost for words because she's scared of what Eda heard. And then when Eda is confronting her, Iodine is trying to find an explanation, and her explanation is that the reason why Serkan broke up with Eda was her, because she and I think Altekin, they talked to Serkan and said that him and Eda don't fit and that he should break up with her, and he listened to them. So she wants to kind of take all the blame that Eda is putting on Serkan onto herself, and Eda is really disappointed by that. You could also see that Iodine was very sad telling Eda this lie, and then I'm like, well, why would you do that? Now your whole plan of going past the gates just goes away, out of your reach, past the gates where you can't go. So really, Iodine, why did you have to lie like this? You could have come up with something else. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, she's his mother. She cares for him and she sees how much he's suffering. Then Serkan sees Eda taking her phone, whatever she left, going past Iodine. He asks Iodine what was that all about, and Iodine tells him that Eda overheard their conversation, so he goes and confronts Eda. Eda then confronts Serkan, questioning him, is it really true that your family is the reason why you broke up with me? And then Serkan again takes the blame on him, because I mean, it was his decision, so he takes all the blame and is like, it was my decision, they don't have anything to do with it. And then Eda is like, well, I will keep digging and find out the truth because I don't really believe you. And then he's like, stop digging because it's over, it doesn't matter, so it's pointless for you to dig something up. So kind of trying to convince her not to dig deeper, because his biggest fear lies very, very deep, and that's Eda finding out the truth, what Altekin did all those years ago. And the next day, Eda is having all those pregnancy symptoms, so she feels dizzy, she can't smell certain things. So this whole question of her being pregnant and the possibility, I mean, it could be possible. If we're just looking at their history, it could have been possible, but I was like, seriously, I thought that Serkan would be more responsible, especially at his age, especially the way he behaves. So I was like, dude, I expected more of you, so protect yourself in these situations. And I was like, please don't do this, because a baby wouldn't really fit in the storyline at the moment, and it would be just kind of a baby that would keep them together and they're forced to stay together, and it wouldn't really make sense for me. So I was like, let's hope she's not pregnant. So this whole pregnancy theory was all a misunderstanding. But it was so hilarious to watch all of them, especially Serkan, trying to protect Eda, trying to make sure that she's alright. It was hilarious, but I will talk about that later. So we have Efe being really excited to introduce Emre and Aslı, some old friends of his, to Serkan, because they want to do something to their house and to other projects. So they want to work with Serkan because of Efe, because Efe recommended Serkan to them, kind of. And then when they come, they also come with a baby, and that baby is called Serkan. So this whole thing is also a misunderstanding. When they have a meeting, you can already see that Emre is very controlling. He doesn't like for the baby to be further away than 3 meters from him, it was just like, seriously, like such a, I don't know, is it in English the same, like helicopter parent? Because the mother doesn't really seem too attached to the, I mean, she does love her child, but she's not as attached and as protective and controlling over the baby as Emre is. So he also seems very controlling of her and what she does and how she behaves, stuff like that. I kind of got that from her conversations with Eda and just what she said in general. So in that meeting, Emre and Aslı kind of insist on Serkan taking up their projects and they only want to work with him if it kind of looked pleased. So I don't know if it's kind of his doing that they want to work only with Serkan, because at first Engin was like, of course our team can work on that, blah blah blah, no problem, but they're like, no, we want Serkan. So I don't know, maybe that will be very complicated in the future because things happen and they blame Serkan. I mean, something did happen in this episode which I will get to later, but still I feel that if it kind of influenced Emre and Aslı to insist on Serkan being the main person, so for people to blame him, if that makes sense. Then we have the scene where Serkan is telling Eda that they have to work together, and then she's kind of feeling sick, so she goes to the bathroom where she finds Aslı, and she's scared that she's pregnant again because her husband is so controlling and it's going to be hard with 2 little kids, blah blah blah. So she's really scared and doesn't really want to be pregnant again. Serkan is talking to Leyla. Eda comes past them. Serkan is asking Leyla what's up with Eda because Eda wouldn't tell him what's up with her. So Leyla tells him that she's feeling sick because of some scent, blah blah blah. Serkan is very okay, just let me know if something happens and if there are any news. Then we have Serkan and Eda driving to Aslı and Emre's house because of some construction they have to do there. On their way there, Eda is feeling sick again, tells Serkan to stop by a pharmacy so she gets some pills, whatever. While Eda is gone, Serkan calls his doctor, tells her the symptoms. She says that she's pregnant and Serkan is like, no, it can't be. So in this moment I was like, please let that be the sign that he protected himself and Eda during their intercourse, kind of. So when Eda comes, he hangs up really quickly. When they arrive there, that house, I think it was in Karasevda, where, what's that lady's name? If you've watched Karasevda, you would know which lady I mean. Like, she looked like Cleopatra and I think her nickname was also Cleopatra. So that's the house that was in Karasevda. Just what I've noticed. Anyways, they look around, they talk to Emre and Aslı. They witness a kind of fight between Emre and Aslı because of the child, because it's screaming, blah blah blah. So Eda takes the child, she soothes the child. They're very amazed by her power, and then Eda is taking care of the baby. Iodine calls Eda. Serkan picks up the phone. Iodine sees the baby and Iodine is questioning Eda about the baby, and she's like, don't be so loud because little Serkan is sleeping, and then they hang up. So Iodine thinks it's kind of their child. There were moments where I was like, those women have no clue about biology, because Eda was flat the whole time. Like, how could she pop out a baby? I don't know what kind of biology they learned, but it's impossible. So I was like, just them thinking about the possibility of Eda having a child already. I was like, but then we kind of understood that Ayfer was thinking that she's pregnant, so she didn't get the baby yet. But Iodine talks about the real baby, so it was so confusing at times for them. It was just hilarious to watch. Anyways, Eda gets kind of sick again, goes to the bathroom. She gives Serkan the baby. The baby vomits on Serkan's shoulder, which was amazing. And for him, the worst thing to happen. So he's so disgusted by all of that, so he goes up to the bathroom, but overhears the conversation Eda has with Aslı. So Aslı found out that she's pregnant because she took a pregnancy test, but Serkan only hears a part of the conversation where Eda tells Aslı that she thinks that Aslı will have a girl, and Aslı is like, how do you know? Because I feel it. And that's where Serkan comes in. So he only hears that part, and then Eda is like, well, I've always wanted a boy and a girl. And Aslı says says, well, I hope you will get what you want. And Serkan is losing his mind listening to them. Aslı comes out, Eda goes in, takes the pill, comes back out, sees Serkan. Serkan goes into the bathroom, is having a breakdown, thinking about all their times together. Could it be possible that Eda is pregnant? But then he sees the pregnancy test and it's a quick test. So I was like, at first, you can't be serious. You can't think that Eda could pee on that stick and already have the answer if she's pregnant or not for you to see it in the bin, because sometimes I was questioning their intelligence of everybody. But anyways, he's losing his mind even more so when he sees the positive pregnancy test. So that's when he's really going out of his way and trying to make Eda as comfortable as possible, telling her to eat fruits, not chips, to rest, to be comfortable, not to do this, not to do that. Anyways, before they go home, Eda kind of suggests to Emre and Aslı that she can take care of the baby so they can focus on the party planning, blah blah blah. Oh, Serkan also told them that they can start constructions on the house right away, blah blah blah. The party will be after the constructions are finished, so it was just minor things. Apparently, I don't know the time frame, but some construction happened in that house and the party happened after that. So we have Eda and Serkan taking little Serkan to his place. Then we have Serkan calling Engin to have a chat. So Serkan is having a really hard time to say the words that Eda might be pregnant to Engin. Engin, when he hears it, he's over the moon. He's the happiest, and that's the reaction a future father should have. And it was just hilarious because Serkan didn't have that reaction, and it was just so hilarious to watch Engin being more excited than Serkan, because Serkan was kind of holding his emotions back, because the thing that's holding him back is the fact that he's not really on talking terms with Eda, because they're still broken up, they're still fighting kind of, so she doesn't really want to have anything to do with Serkan, so that's his main issue. So Engin is telling him, well, talk to her. So in the meantime, we see that Efe is talking to Celine, him telling her that he's kind of angry with Serkan's attitude towards him, and Celine tells him, well, he's not trusting you. And then Efe gets more and more frustrated, being like, well, I have the same shares as him, so I have the same rights in the company, blah blah blah, so we are on the same level. And then he tells Celine that he will make Serkan notice him and kind of understand that they're on the same level, if that makes sense. And then Celine is like, should I be scared? And I was like, is that kind of him telling us that he will turn bad? Then we have the scene where Eda is taking care of the baby. Serkan wants to work. Eda wanting to give the baby to Serkan, but he's like, no, I'm not touching it. He already vomited on me. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to do anything with him. I don't even know how to handle a baby. But she's like, I will make some food and you will just talk to him. So Serkan starts talking to the baby about architecture. I mean, seriously, it was just so hilarious. I was laughing so much. And then he asks her, well, she's kind of a natural with the baby, how come? And she's like, well, I always looked after my neighbors. And then he's like, well, do you want to have children in the future? So he's trying to go to that conversation, but she's like, this is way too personal and it doesn't concern you. And I was like, God, like seriously, sometimes Eda can be so frustrating, it's insane. Then we have this whole Ida misunderstanding happening. Then Efe comes, because Eda was at first, let me give you the baby to get those gases out, and he's like, no, I'm not doing this, blah blah blah. Efe comes, takes the baby, it's like, of course I would take it. And Serkan is like, well, I could have done it. And I was like, jealous. Serkan once again doesn't like that Efe is handling things more smoothly. Then we have Ayfer and Aydan coming to Serkan's place, seeing the baby, then having a separate conversation. So Ayfer with Eda and Aydan with Serkan, both of them having once again those funny conversations where you see the same question but a different answer, and it was just hilarious to watch them all. And then we also have Aydan and Ayfer watching Eda and Serkan with the child, and both of them saying that they fit together, they look great together, and then at the same time backtracking everything they said, and they're like, no, that's not true, blah blah blah. So they still feel that Eda and Serkan are meant for each other, but because of their minds and because they know what happened in the past, they can't really overcome that at the moment, if that makes sense. Then we have Eda and Serkan working together, them being quite close, him making sure she's comfortable, then him taking the pen from her and her being affected by this little touch. And then Emre and Aslı come to take the baby. They're really happy. Aslı tells Eda that she finally told Emre that she's expecting. That's when it all drops for Serkan. He's like, wait, what? So then he puts 2 and 2 together, and it was just so hilarious where you could really see him finding out the truth and being so relieved that Eda is not being pregnant and it's actually Aslı, and Eda is so angry with him, and if looks could kill, Serkan would have been dead instantly. So after they're gone, Eda gets really angry with Serkan and is like, well, why wouldn't you ask me that question? It was just one question. And then Serkan is like, well, I wanted, but you just said no, you were blocking. And I was like, he's right, you were blocking all his questions, all his personal questions. So why are you angry? Why are you mad at him? Because he tried to get an answer, but you were blocking. So it's not his fault that he thought that you were pregnant. Then we have a couple of Efe things. So Leyla and Erdem go out of her office, I believe. Efe comes in, looks at the plan, does something on the computer. So I was like, he's doing something to the plans. Something will happen. Then we see Efe calling Serkan that there's a problem with the sports project and there's a competitor and Emre will go to the competitor, and so Serkan has to kind of convince Emre that they should do the sports project. He also tells Serkan that they should have a meeting before the party so they know what strategy to kind of pursue. But Serkan is like, no, we don't need that. Serkan goes to the company. When he arrives there, Efe already has a meeting going on with the rest of the people. Serkan doesn't like what he sees, tells Efe that the next time there's going to be a meeting where Serkan is not there, they should hold the meeting in a meeting room, not his office. So that's another minus point for Efe. And Efe was like, get used to it. Then we have this whole party happening at Emre and Aslı's house. Eda is dressed in the blue dress that Serkan bought her when they were still on good terms. At that party, Serkan convinces Emre to take back the sports project. Then there's this whole Engin Pırıl, the assistant thing happening, and then suddenly there's a bang. So the roof collapsed apparently. Serkan is blaming himself because it was his project. He wants everybody who was involved in the construction, and also he wants to see the plans the next morning, so he's already planning for the damage control or to see where's the mistake. The next morning, Ayfer and Fifi see the news about the roof collapsing and that it's Serkan's fault kind of. Celine having a hard time managing all the news outlets. Emre and Aslı come, are quite angry, especially Emre. They're like, we were all at home, maybe something could have happened to us, blah blah blah. So they're blaming Serkan. Serkan is taking all the blame because it's his project. Of course he was at fault. He doesn't really say anything else. He just says it's the first time something like this happened to me. So he apologizes. Efe comes because the night before, I forgot, he called the mystery person after the roof collapsed. He said that it didn't go as planned because more happened than he intended to. So he got kind of angry and frustrated. So I don't know if the human side of Efe kind of showed that he didn't want to cause that much of a damage. He just wanted to give Serkan a sign being like, look, I'm here as well, if that makes sense. So because something more happened than he intended to, maybe he's backtracking all his bad things and bad plans. When Emre is talking to Serkan, Efe comes as well, tries to calm Emre and Aslı down, tries to convince them to keep working with Serkan, but they're like, no, we don't want to work with Serkan anymore, we will go to court with it. And Serkan is like, of course, it's your right, do whatever you feel like, I don't mind it that also he's really in this whole blame bubble kind of. So after everybody goes, he gets so angry, throws things around. Eda comes, tries to calm him down, tries to convince him that he's the best architect or one of the best out there. So it couldn't have happened because of him, because she trusts him. Serkan is like, no, you're trusting the wrong person. She keeps trying to convince him that it's not true. He keeps telling her to go. She's like, no. Then says Serkan, takes his head in her hands, and that's the end. And I was like... And as of me filming this now, we don't have a trailer, so I can't really predict anything. But I do think that because of this incident, Serkan doesn't want to be near Eda, because her being near him in this situation will kind of remind him even more of the things that Optikin did back in the day and the things that happened to her parents, if that makes sense. And I also do think that the grandma or the mystery person will appear in the coming episodes, because maybe more happened than Efe intended to. He's not really executing that person's orders, so that person will then come and be like, well, I have to do the things myself now. I don't know, that's kind of where my mind is going. I also do think because of that incident, Eda will kind of have a close eye on Serkan, maybe be closer to him because of that, because she sees how affected he is, and maybe she tries to prove to him that he's one of the best out there and that it wasn't his fault. Maybe they will kind of find out that if it did something, maybe there's a camera in Layla's office. Oh my god, that would be amazing. If they really find out that somebody did that mistake later on, if that makes sense. So yeah, I do think that it will take a couple of episodes for them to find the culprit. So maybe it's when Efe is on good terms with everybody and then they find out the truth that Efe did it, so then they're against Efe, but then the mystery person comes, so Efe is like, he or she told me to do that, it's not my fault, kind of. That could be a possibility. Jaran and Ferit getting closer. Maybe next episode we will get the Engin and the assistant date. That would be hilarious. And is there anything else? I don't think so. Or maybe Ayfer and Seyfi getting closer and Ayfer visiting Iodine more because she wants to be in the garden, blah blah blah. And I think that's all. I'm really sorry that I couldn't predict any more because I can't work without a trailer. I can't say anything else, just what I think might happen next. But yeah, I hope I said everything. I hope I didn't forget anything. But if you still like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what your thoughts are on this amazing episode. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Ring that bell to be notified whenever I post something, and I will see you next time. Bye!